Welcome to the Divorce Diaries podcast, one man's anonymous and live account of if he should get a divorce or stay married. He's been cheated on and he's cheated, protecting the innocent with changed voice patterns, the omission of names, ages and genders. His authentic journey and account of the daily events of his marriage are helping him sort out his feelings and not get lost in the ups or the downs. New episodes are released daily. Welcome to the Divorce Diaries podcast. Entire seasons are released on Patreon weeks before anywhere else at Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Link in description. Now for today's episode.
Therapy has been great. I'm one day approximately after learning that I have a settlement now, and within the next 1 or 2 weeks I will be divorced and done with this marriage, and almost kind of in my own way, like kind of permanently done with this person that just hasn't been good for me, to me, for my children, to my children, for herself, to herself. It's been rough, you know, when you've got, like, if a dog that you own, like, I'm not comparing her or a person to a dog, it's just a very clean example. If you've got like a dog or a pet that just bites people, yeah, you could think about it like the dog whisperer, Caesar Milan. You know, the dog could be anxious, nervous, something like that, and it's coming out in the form of aggression and a bite. At some point, you start to kind of move when you walk the dog and another person approaches, you sort of like tense up and you cross the street or you try to avoid them because you don't want to risk your dog biting someone. And usually for Caesar to fix that dog, the dog goes away and you get him out of their environment and away from the owner. That could be the trigger for the dog to do that, and see if you can rehabilitate the dog and all of these other things. There's a very lengthy steps to rehabilitate a dog, and sometimes the dog has to permanently have another home, just like a lot of times people have to permanently have another home. They have to go into rehab, or have to move from a city where there might be triggers or an ex or a contact that they have that kind of introduces them and keeps them connected to drugs and some other vice that they might have. And it's just really difficult to kick addiction when you're still very close to that trigger. And therapy is one of my hacks that I think that everyone should employ, especially people that are going through big changes like divorce, transition, and I would say any of those things that cause us immense stress. Moving, yeah, it's moving, and should something like moving require therapy? Let's go with the healthy answer of no, but a move has a lot of, pun intended, moving parts. And are you moving from a large place and downsizing because you're an empty nester? Whoa, that's a lot of transition when you break it down, and a lot of things to adjust to. The children are no longer with you. You guys maybe have a limited income now. You're married and you're trying to negotiate life and get the getting to know each other phase after the kids no longer live with you. Or are you moving from home to college and away from your family and your support system? That might require a bit of therapy to help assist with that adjustment. Are you moving back from being independent in with family? That may require therapy to help negotiate the adjustment. Are your goals in place so that you can figure out a timeline to plot when you'll be out of that place and be okay with making adjustments to the timeline, or sliding to the left or sliding to the right or something like that, and negotiating all of the changes that might come with coming back to live with parents and negotiating with them your having moved out as an 18-year-old but moving back as a 24-year-old and what that looks like. Therapy can help you negotiate a lot of the transitions and adjustments that you need to transition and adjust to and through. therapy can help. And what therapy is helping me with right now is my sadness in the finality of the state of my marriage and how it's forming. It's final. It is finally ending. It has not come to an end, but we're starting to put some periods at the end of these sentences. Visitation is not locked in place, but the custody arrangement is done. The financial obligation is outlined and done. I know now I won't really ever have to see my soon-to-be ex-wife again. And she is leaving me just as she came in to my life. She is taking even as she goes. She took as she came in, she took during, and she's taking as she leaves. A leopard doesn't change its spots. And I was sort of unsure of where we stood at the beginning and sort of made us be in a relationship because I wanted it, and she went along with it. I kept and stayed in our marriage. I know she would probably say, well, I stayed in the marriage and it was because of me that you know how people are, how they do that. Well, no, I wanted to stay. I'm the king or the queen in this situation, and I'm the one that bestowed my presence on you. And she wouldn't be wrong if she were to say that. But I've recognized my codependence and the lack of self-esteem that I had. I wanted so much to be wanted by my soon-to-be ex-wife. I didn't care what she did. I accepted it. I didn't care that she had a boyfriend when we met. I accepted it. I didn't care that she cheated on me and was public about it and showed where I lived to the person she was having an affair with. I didn't care that she would take what we would agree publicly with my son and say something different behind my back and cause all sorts of rifts with everyone in our family. I accepted the fact that I know that she was a liar and that she was the type of person that would verbatimly say things like, I didn't lie, I just didn't tell you. It reminds me very much of what I heard Amber Heard say in that Johnny Depp trial. She said, I wasn't punching you in the face. I was hitting you. I was like, wow. She doesn't hear herself. Or she does hear herself, but she doesn't care. And I'd always felt like that with my soon-to-be ex-wife. She would just say things like that. And I'm like, oh, she's so smart. She didn't mean to say that. That must have come out wrong. And I was so weak because when someone says that to you, when she was trying to move back in, I remember she said, your money is our money and my money's my money. And when she said that, I didn't call her on it or check her on it, but I guess I started accepting things. And I'm like, wow, that is true. I guess that is why we normally have the problems we have with money, because I'm constantly having talks with my soon-to-be ex-wife about, hey, can we talk about what we're going to do with the money, and can we talk about what we're going to save for the kids, what we're gonna, and she would always say, no, I'm not going to do that. And I would always say, well, we should, and she's like, well, I'm not. And I would come with the we and she would say the I'm. And then I'm like, okay, all right, well, yeah, well, maybe she can't do that. All right, so I'll just do it. So then I found myself saving money for our children. I found myself saving for our vacations. I found myself saving money for our savings and our rainy days. I found myself doing stuff for us financially, and I never found her doing anything for us because I was still operating in that very archaic and traditional way of a man should provide and protect and provision, and the wife would be a steward, a good steward over what is being provided. And that hasn't been the case at all. And it never was the case. And if I would have accepted that reality long ago, we would have been in a much better place, in a much healthier relationship, to be honest. We would have healthily broken up sooner. I would not have argued with her like I did over the years. I wouldn't have got so frustrated and mad and lost my temper and pushed her to places probably where she lost hers. And I would have said, oh, we're just so unequally yoked as the Christian teachings would have us believe. You're supposed to be equally yoked. Or in the secular world, so to speak, we just were never on the same page. I needed to be with someone that was about committee, family, community. And she needs a sugar daddy. And I'm not saying that in a disparaging way, like, oh, she's so... No. My soon-to-be ex-wife was way more self-aware of herself than I ever was. She's always known exactly what she wanted and how to get it, and she's done that. And I always try to make things fit and work with people that didn't want what I wanted. So I found myself always feeling disappointed, and she found herself always in a situation where she felt like someone was trying to control her. Because I thought we were in it together, so I said, hey, why don't we do this? And she's always like, what the hell, we? I don't want to do that. Why are you? And I'm like, wait, why are you acting like I'm trying to control you? I'm just trying to talk about what we're going to do with our funds. Well, I don't want to do that with my money. And I'm like, whoa, wait, how did we get here? How did we get to this angry place? And it took me a while to do that ad campaign when they would smack the person on the head and go, should have had a V8. I didn't really smack myself in the head and say, oh shit, she is honestly telling me how she feels. She does not feel that we should share. She feels like my resources should be shared, but hers are hers. Why couldn't I just swallow that pill? 2022, for better or worse, is the year of me taking my medicine. It doesn't taste good going down, but it's going to be good for me. This divorce settlement doesn't feel good, but it's going to be good for me. And I'm so happy to have it underway, and the only way out is through. Remember that. The only way out is through.
Wow. That was the Divorce Diaries podcast. The Daily Saga will continue tomorrow. The full season's episodes are on Patreon now. Subscribe for early access. Click the Patreon link in the description. Hopefully these entries help our anonymous recorder as a form of his own personal therapy. That's his hope and his intention. Will these recordings of life's curveballs lead this family to the best resolution in the end? We'll keep listening. New episodes are released daily on all podcast players, but all episodes are available on Patreon at Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Until next time.